some of the international achievements. We were extremely surprised to see that within the first month of our emergence, since we launched it, we were invited to Ramallah, we were invited to Egypt, the only Israeli group that were officially invited to meeting with the Egyptian Foreign Office and went to Tahrir Square to talk to some of the revolutionary forces was the IPI group in May last year. We presented it in Jordan, in Qatar. We presented it to international groups. Our working papers were used always quietly. Our position and our ideas were always known to the Quartet officials, to the Pentagon, White House, French Foreign Office, German Foreign Office, and the European Union. We have created a network of hundreds of people from the Arab world and the international community, and we are constantly increasing the outreach. We want all of them to know that there is a center stage group of people in Israel who think about a regional peace proposal at these very times, and we share with them our ideas on a regular basis. I will not go into this, but we got some decent coverage in the first phase in which we were presenting the IPI. It is now getting a little bit more difficult, and I will talk about the denial, because the Israeli public and Israeli government and the entire, if you like, discourse in Israel is not that focused on the regional peace process. Yes, they are much more concerned about socio-economical issues, and they are concerned about Iran. If you go to Israelis today and you tell them, look, are you concerned about the peace process? They say, well, remotely so. They will tell you, oh, we're not sure there is a partner. It doesn't mean that they do not want peace, but that's where their mindset is. They are extremely worried about Iran, and they are very worried about socioeconomic internal issues in Israel. Nevertheless, we got interesting exposure also in the Arab press, and have created some working papers to support and to interject our ideas and our kind of thinking into any international body we could find out. Both the French initiative, the regionalization process that we offered to the Quartet, the regional letter of intent that we distributed among the Middle East leaders towards the UN Assembly, and finally the Quartet proposal. What will be our next steps? In Israel, we hope to launch an internet campaign to convince the Israeli public to accept the notion that a proactive approach by Israel is a must. Not necessarily the exact details, but the mere idea that Israel cannot think that the status quo is working to anybody's interest, to anybody's benefit. And second, behind the scene, do the tedious, tough work, sometimes frustrating work, of working with political leaders and decision makers in our country to bring them closer to the idea that a regional compromise should be taken forward. Internationally, as I said, number one objective is a track to effort to show that between the Arab Peace Initiative and the Israeli Peace Initiative, we can create the Regional Peace Initiative, a set of principles that would be completely acceptable to all parties and would serve as a blueprint for the political progress and the conflict resolution efforts to come on a bilateral and multilateral basis. Publicly, we will call for a regional conference. We will continue to conduct ongoing dialogue with the emerging Arab world and civil society representatives. There are many interesting new voices, and what we have seen as an amazing phenomena is, as of October of last year, for reasons that we cannot understand, the amount of downloads of the Arabic version of the IPI from our website has skyrocketed all of a sudden. We are getting tremendous responses and very interesting, encouraging remarks from Arab business people around the region who say, we are concerned. We think a solution must be found. We are very much concerned about the lack of leadership from our side. And these come from Palestinians and from Saudis and from Egyptians. And internationally, we will participate in the Middle East Economic Forum as a platform that would, for the first time, would unite, we think, the emerging voice of business leaders. What is our hope? Why are we optimistic? We are business people. We are not wasting our time in vain. Yes, I can personally tell you that my business is suffering, but I'm nevertheless sure that all of us are doing the right thing for the future of our country, and specifically our children. Here are some details from the detailed research and focus groups that we ran around the IPI. When we asked people if they support the IPI, we got 45 to 50% acceptance of the IPI as it is. By the way, when we introduced each one of the individual components, and we asked them, would you support withdrawal from the Golan Heights? 20% will support it. Would you support the split of Jerusalem? 30% will support it. But when we presented this as a regional package, they say, oh, okay. Now we see the logic in it. People were willing to give support. So support got to 45 to 50%. And then we changed the question. And we asked them, without addressing the issue, whether you support or like the IPI, if it were agreed, can you live with it? And here, people said, 65 to 70% said, yes, we can live with it. We don't like it. It is not, it's not the implementation of what we thought is right and what we thought is good for us. But it is, if it is as good as it gets, we will be able to live with it. We further ask people, if that has been agreed, will you fight it? Only 15% said yes, we will vehemently oppose and fight politically with all our power so that the Israeli public rejects it. Now that tells us that when we ask people what they support, it is 45, 50%. If we ask them what they can live with, it gets to the 70%. And if you ask them if they would unwillingly live with no opposition to it, this is close to 85%. And this is all coming at times when, believe me, the Israeli mindset is completely concerned and disbelieving the genuine interest of the Palestinian Authority in reaching peace, extremely worried about what's happening in the Arab world. Still you get that level of support. What do we need in order to convince Israelis? First of all, the one thing for sure, if we present it to Arab leaders and come back home and tell them we have met, we have been invited, we have been welcomed by this leader, by that person, that creates a major mindset. Let me tell you this. The support for the Israeli-Egyptian peace accord was created on one Saturday night when Anwar Sadat came to Israel. It is not about rational conviction. It is not about persuasion. It is about heating people emotionally. And I can tell you, opportunities to present and to have a dialogue with Arab leaders will have much better impact on the Israeli mindset than any of the eloquent speeches of President Obama. Second, we need to see positive response towards the IPI coming from the Arab world. That will help us a lot. Ongoing dialogue with civil society members in the Arab world, definitely. And last but not least, if we can bring back home a new paper that says, here is a regional peace initiative based on the Arab Peace Initiative and the IPI, created by Israelis and Arabs in a track too, without mentioning their names, but by being endorsed through an internationally known institution